Hello everyone. This is the continuation of the first unit of Parents and Children written by Francis Bacon. Let me review what I did earlier and then continue with my lesson now. In the first two paragraphs, Francis Bacon was talking about parents and children and their relationship. In the first paragraph, he was talking about the labor, the grief, the fear, the joys of the parents, how the parents conceal all of them towards themselves and they don't reveal it to their children, right? And in the second paragraph, he was talking about the children, where the parents are not really equal when it comes to sharing their love. The elder one is respected and loved the most. The last one, the younger one, is pampered. And this discord between the children grows along with them even as they are grown-ups, and when they are grown up it will actually reflect in their personality. If you remember, I was giving you an example of a movie where Prabhas and his brother were treated unequally by the mother, though it was not intentional, but then this is how they grew up, and with that revenge the younger one grows up to even kill his brother. Alright, so this was what he was talking about. Let me continue from where I stopped, right? It talks about, I'll repeat that line for you so that there will be continuity in what I teach you. Men have a foolish manner, both parents and schoolmasters and servants, in creating and breeding an emulation. Emulation is to surpass, to go above. Emulation is, that spirit of competition. They want to surpass the eldest one. They want to surpass the youngest one. They want to highlight themselves. This is an attitude which the parents create by showing a biased or partial attitude towards their children, right? Emulation between brothers during childhood, which many times soareth to discord when they are men, right? As children, this attitude is inculcated in them and this grows along with them even as they grow up to be men, right? And disturbeth the families. So the families are disturbed because of this discord, because of this lovelessness, this selfish attitude, that they should prove to be better than the brothers. So this is an attitude that the parents themselves have created. And then the next line says, the Italians make little difference between children and nephews or near kinsfolk, but so they be of the lump, they care not though they pass not through their own body. Now I'll explain what this is. Before I talk about the Italians, let me talk about the Indians. Now Indian families are very concerned about their own children, right? Their own welfare, their own development. Even if there are brothers, even in a joint family, earlier, in the olden days, joint family, everybody was treated equally, everybody was given enough respect, so there was no partial attitude in the olden days. But these days, where we have a small family, father, mother and two children, so the father and the mother are only concerned about their own children. The mother's family might have their own children, the father's family might also have their own children, but they are not concerned about their welfare and development. They want to see that their child tops. They want to see that their child is on the top in every area of their life. They do not want to, give room for their, other family members. This is the culture in our country, right? Most of us are only concerned about our children. It's our family. It is my everywhere. But then it is totally different with the Italians. In the Italian family, they treat everybody equally. It's not just their son, even the nephew. Nephew is brother's children, sister's children, whoever they are also treated on par with their children. The importance that is given to their children is also given to their nephew. And in case the nephew climbs the ladder of success, he is appreciated, he is respected, he is loved. They don't consider that he is my nephew, not my own child, not my own blood. This is not considered in the Italian family. Their importance is equal, whether it is their blood or their relative. Their equal importance is given there in Italian, okay, in Italy. Alright, and then I'll repeat this line for you again. It says, the Italians make little difference. In fact, no difference at all between their blood relation, which is their own children, and their nephews or niece, right? Or difference between children and nephews or near kinsfolk. Kinsfolk are, brothers and sisters, okay? And then, but so they be of the lump, they care not through, they pass not through their own body. So they are not concerned, even if this nephew is not my own blood, even if he is not my own son or daughter, they are given that respect, they are given that appreciation, that love, all that is showered on them. And to say truth, in nature, it is much a like matter, in so much that we see a nephew sometimes resembleth an uncle or a kinsman more than his own parent, as the blood happens. Now what he's talking about here is, though it looks a little complicated, it is the old method of writing an essay. So it is not in plain simple English that we can understand. Simply what he's trying to tell you is that the nephew, though, is not the own blood. The nephew is not one's own son or son, right? But then what they try to do is, even if this happens in the Indian scenario, the boys in the family, usually they say that you look more like your mama. Mama is the mother's brother, or sometimes the father's brother. The child is compared to the father's brother or to the mother's brother. Even as they grow up, they say you're exactly like your mama. You're exactly like your baba. You are doing what he does. You are doing what he does. This is how we compare the child. So this is exactly what happens in the Italian families. They say you resemble your uncle the most. You do exactly things like your uncle did. So this is how they compare, children to their uncles, right? And then, let parents choose betimes the vocations and courses they mean their children should take, for then they are most flexible, and let them not too much apply themselves to the disposition of their children, as thinking they will take best to that which they have most mind to. Okay, now I'll explain this in very simple terms. I did this in my first video as well. I said Francis Bacon is talking to parents. He says parents should guide the children in taking up their careers. Now why should parents do this? Because parents are well experienced when compared to the children. Yeah? And then he says parents should guide the child in helping them, take their field of study, in helping them prove their, choose their profession. This is an advice that he gives, parents. At the same time, Francis Bacon is also advising parents. He says, look at your child. Look at the interest that your child has. Which area is your child interested in? Which area does your child want to grow up? What is the profession that interests your child? Give importance even to that. Don't impose yourself on the children. Don't make the children, do what you want to do. Give them an opportunity. Keep it open for the children to choose their own career, to choose their own field of study, right? So, and then he says at the same time, when I'm asking you to do this, don't give up on your children. Don't leave everything to them. Don't tell them, okay, come on now, because you are interested in that particular field, you choose your own subjects, you choose your own profession. He says you can't give up on children that way. You can't just allow them to do whatever they want. There should be the parents' guidance. Parents should guide, should lead the children. At the same time, the children's interests also should be valued. Their emotions should also be valued, and the child should be given the liberty and freedom to choose his choice of study and profession, right? And then coming to the next line, he talks about, it is true that if the affection or aptness of the children be extraordinary, then it is good not to cross it. But generally, the percept is good. Alright, and then something in Italian is written here, which means choose the best. Custom will make it pleasant and easy. Younger brothers are commonly fortunate, but seldom or never where the elder is disinherited. So here he is talking about children being given opportunities to choose their own field of study, to choose their own profession. And then he says younger children sometimes are at a loss, because the eldest is given a lot of respect, and most of the time what happens is all the property and all the wealth that the parents accumulate is left to the elder one. Yeah, the elder one takes complete authority and inherits everything. When the elder one is inheriting everything, the younger one is at a loss, isn't it? This used to happen earlier. Now with all the rules and laws which are changed, all the children are given equal portions of property and wealth of their parents. This was the time in the 1500s, when Francis Bacon was actually born. That was the time when, this was, a custom where the eldest inherited the property. Now I don't think it is apt with our situation, with our present scenario. So now all the children are given equal rights, given equal property and wealth. So this is what he talks about. This is a very short essay, but very, very informative. It talks about what parents and children go through in their day-to-day life. And I'm sure when I spoke to you about this essay and his suggestions and advices, every one of us must have gone through these experiences. Yeah, if not all the experiences or all the observations that Francis Bacon has made, some we have all experienced, right? So let's review what we just did in the essay. We are done with the first prose lesson. We'll just review what happened. Okay. To review, as I said, another important thing that you should remember, children, is that when you write answers for any lesson, okay, this being your first lesson, if you have to answer a question given to you, you know how you should start your answer? You should firstly introduce the author, right? The author's introduction is not in your text. It is not there. I have given you some important information about the, the author, and I hope you have made notes. In case you haven't made notes, please see that you put them down now, even as I am reviewing what we did, right? So to start with, Francis Bacon was born in the year 1561 and he died in the year 1626. Francis Bacon was a popularly acclaimed essayist. He was very popular for his essays. Of all his essays, this is one of the essays which is for your study of parents and children. Now, Francis Bacon was not just an essayist. He multitasked, right? He was into different areas, in his life. He was, an essayist. He was a politician. He took up prominent posts in the government. He was ranked in the Britain kingdom. Yeah, and then, as I said, his rank of, he was ranked as the fourth after the Earl, and then. Other than being ranked here, he was into very active politics, and at the same time, during his reign in politics, he was an acclaimed leader. He was charged with corruption, and that was a time nothing was proved against him. But then that was a time he thought, let me take a break from politics. He took a break, and then that was the time he started writing essays, and his essays were so popularly appreciated by everyone because I said whatever he wrote, he believed in the scientific method. Yeah, he was considered, the father of scientific method. He was the first one to start scientific method. Now, what did I say scientific method was? Scientific method was something that he did out of experiments. Any idea, any issue, any problem, he experimented it. He did not come to conclusions. He did not pass statements, blindly. Right? He conducted experiments, he proved them right or wrong through his experiments, and then came to a conclusion about that topic. And among all these scientific methodology that he followed, of parents and children is one. Right? He is not talking to you just like that. He is talking out of experience. He has experienced this in the families, and out of his experience, he is talking to parents and children. Right? And to start with, of parents and children is an argumentative essay. Argumentative because he was very good at arguing. He was not just a politician, he was not just an essayist, he was also a lawyer. Now lawyers, you know how they are, right? They are so good at arguing. You just cannot win an argument with a lawyer. So he was a lawyer. And he used to argument so well that, people could not prove him wrong. Like this essay. This essay is an argumentative essay. As I told you, whatever experiences that I spoke to you about this essay, can anybody deny it? Can anybody say this does not happen in my family? Yeah, if not in your family, you must have at least heard it happening in your neighborhood, isn't it? So such is his style of writing. Now, to start with, what did he speak about fathers and the parents basically? He said parents go through a lot of hard work. They do a lot of hard work. They exhaust themselves. They are tired, but they don't stop working. Why? What is the reason? Because they want to see their children happy. They want to see their children contented. And this grief that they go through, this hard work that they're doing, sometimes, I was telling you earlier also, they suffer, they have fever, they have body pains, but they push themselves to work. And they sport a smile always. They never allow you to know what is wrong with them. They always, because they want you to be happy, right? They don't want you to be sad. So, all this grief is hidden within them. They work very hard for their children, to provide for their children. And their joys, their griefs and their fears are all within themselves. They don't share it with anybody, because their only motive is to see that the child is happy, right? This was the beginning of the lesson. And coming to the next part of the lesson, he talks about, how the parents and the children, he talks about the relationship between the parents and the children. He says children have emotions, right? Human beings have emotions. Now, emotions are both common to animals as well as human beings. But then, something which animals don't have and we human beings have are memory, right? Thoughts and ideas. Now, whatever you have stored in your memory, you can actually speak it and experience it, and share your experiences with people, right? You have thoughts which you can put into reality. You can actually express your thoughts, isn't it? This is something which is not common to animals. This is another aspect that he speaks about. Now, why is he talking about this? He's talking about your emotions because he wants parents to respect your emotions. Yeah, your emotions should be valued, right? This is one thing that he speaks about. Now, coming to the other aspect of this essay, he talks about the mother, who's the first riser at home. The mother is the first one to rise in the family. The mother takes care of the family, does all the household chores, takes care of their children. The mother is overindulgent when it comes to children. She looks after her children with a lot of care and affection and attention. Not just their physical requirements, she also looks at their intellectualities, she looks at their studies, she looks at what they are doing, how they are going to school, what is the knowledge that they are gaining. The all-round and overall development of a child is taken care mostly by the mother, right? And then the next paragraph, he talks about how parents show differences between children, how the eldest one is treated with a lot of respect and love, and how the youngest one is pampered a lot and spoilt sometimes, and how the second child is neglected, is avoided. And then he speaks out of experience. He says the first one is respected and loved, the younger one is pampered and made violent and cruel, but the second one who is neglected the most is the most successful in the family. He says, I have observed this. I have seen that the second child who lacks respect and love and attention is the one who is very, very successful in life, right? So this is his observation which he talks about. And then what is he trying to tell you here is, this kind of a partial behavior is not acceptable. Parents should not, treat children unequally. All the children should be treated equally, equal love and affection shared with all the children. So this is something that he says should not be done. And then there is a biblical verse that he quotes here, where he talks about King Solomon, has written this verse in the Bible. Now what is it? It's in the chapter called Proverbs in the Bible. He says, when a son has done something very good, if the son has gained a good name for himself in the society, the father is praised. They say, your upbringing is so good. You have brought up your son so well that he's got a good name for himself, right? Let me give you a simple example of Sundar Pichai. Sundar Pichai is the CEO of Google, right? So when he became the CEO of Google, I have seen this on television. The media people were going and interviewing Sundar Pichai's father. They were asking him, they were talking to him, they were trying to find out how he was brought up, how did he study, how did he work as a child. So here a lot of importance was given to the father because he became the CEO of Google. The same thing happens with us, in our families. Whichever child is successful, the father is given all the credit. But then if a child, as I said, is violent, does not bring a good name for himself, and he does not have a proper, upbringing, the mother is blamed. So this is another thing which is written in the Bible and very true as well in the scenario, right? And then he talks about children where when they are partial, when the parents are partial towards the children, what happens to them? They grow up with that discord in their heart. They grow up with that hatred, they grow up with that selfishness, they grow up with that attitude of revenge. As I was quoting to you, right? I was quoting to you a movie where the eldest one is treated with a lot of respect and love. The youngest one is not really loved, and he grows up with that revengeful attitude, and he goes to the extent of even killing the brother. He thinks about even killing the brother. So he says such attitude is not correct. And at the same time, he talks about the pocket money that is given to children. He says parents are very strict when it comes to the areas of their study, when it comes to choosing the child's profession. The parents are very strict. But when it comes to allowances or pocket money, even there the parents are miserly. If they are not generous enough, what happens to the children? In order to fulfill their needs and their desires, they resort to steps which are like cheating and deceiving people to gain money, right? And day to day, what happens? Their desires are growing. They have a lot of desires to be fulfilled, and the more the number of desires, the more resorting to cheating and deceiving. So he says this is not right. Right? Parents should not be strict when it comes to giving allowances to the children. They should be liberal. Now when I say liberal, it doesn't mean that you spoil the child by giving them whatever they want, by giving them any amount of money. That is also what he's not talking about. He's saying there should be a balance in everything. Alright? And then the next aspect that he's talking about is, he's talking about the Italian scenario. Right? The Italian scenario is, the parents are not just giving importance to their own child, they are also giving importance to their nephews. Nephews are brothers' children or sisters' children. They are not looking for the welfare of their own child. They are also looking for the welfare of the nephew. And in case the nephew is successful, the nephew is appreciated, all credit is given to the nephew. They shower a lot of love on the nephew, though the nephew is not their own blood. This is another thing that he spoke about. And then he talks about the last paragraph, where he's talking about how parents need to be flexible with the children, right? As I said, the parents cannot leave the decision of their education, of their profession on the children, because the children are not really experienced. Parents are far more experienced when compared to children. The parents should take the initiative of guiding the child, of helping the child choose their profession, right? But at the same time, Francis Bacon is again telling about something. He says, when the child is exemplary, when the child is talented, skilled, when the child knows what he wants to do in the future, when he has a clear plan, let the parents be flexible. Let the parents give them an opportunity to choose their own profession, to choose their own field of study. Right? So he says there are different suggestions and advices that he gives both the parents and the children in the lesson of parents and children. That the title very clearly tells you he's talking about parents and he's talking about children. So this is what Francis Bacon talks about in his essay. And as I said, any question that is given from this unit, you must start the question firstly with the introduction of the author, and then answer according to the question that is given to you. I'll help you with writing your answers. I'll tell you what to include, what not to include, your style of writing in my next few videos that I upload. I'm going to talk to you about all these aspects of writing answers as well. Alright, I hope you understood the prose lesson. In case you have any queries, you can get back to me whenever you want. Thank you so much. God bless.